Hello and welcome to Freedom Keepers Senior Edition. This is the podcast where we encourage all of our seniors to stand up, speak out for liberty, love of country, faith, and family. Thank you for joining me, Irene, and my co-host, Beverly, today. So today's topic is one that many of you are reluctant to speak out on, and that is faith. And because we are brave and asking you to be also, we're going to discuss faith and or religion. In particular, as we get older, it seems to have a more prominent place within us all, and we're going to address it in a very positive way, how it affects our lives. So what is faith? Well, it's not a tangible item. It's quiet. It's a persistent presence. It can take many shapes. It is a belief in a higher power, and it's a belief and trust in one another. It's hope for a better tomorrow. It invites reflection, ready to unite us and inspire anew. You will recall King Charles came to visit us recently, and in the White House, he said something which I was really impressed with. He said, "Faith is a firm anchor that guides us every day." Beverly, so let me ask you, do you have faith? And if so, why?
Well, thank you, Irene, and thank you, everyone, for coming and joining us today. I do have faith. I have faith in God and in Jesus Christ, his Son, to help me stay focused. I believe that I really would not have come to this point in my life without Jesus there to guide me. I've had some personal experiences that have led me to believe that there is definitely a higher existence, and my belief in Jesus stems from my upbringing, my religious teaching, the Bible, and my personal experiences. He's given me purpose for my existence to love him and to share with everyone his love and forgiveness. I'd like to talk to you and everyone about my experiences in nursing, which really helped me formulate my faith. When I was a young nurse, I was assigned to the emergency room, and we had an overabundance of patients, but not that many rooms. We used to say the house is full. And unfortunately, there were several ICU patients in the emergency room that we needed beds for, but they just weren't there. So we had to have a holding area for these patients. And we had 3 patients that were in this holding area, and I was assigned to them, and they were all going to ICU. Mm-hmm. I got to talking to this one gentleman in particular who was about 42 years old. Such a nice young man, and he had just... he had a new family, had just had a baby and all, and his wife and him were so thrilled. And he suffered a mild heart attack, and he found himself unconscious, and they whisked him away to the emergency room, and here he was in the IC a holding area. And we were talking, and he had asked me for a glass of water, and I said certainly. So I looked at his chart to see if he was NPL, which meant that whether he could have food or not, or water. And he could. And as I turned my back, all I heard was, "Nurse, nurse." And all of a sudden I turned and looked at him, and he just passed out. Well, coming right out of the CPR class, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I ran over to him. I took a carotid pulse, and I called for a code, and I immediately started CPR on him. Well, needless to say, a while later, we restored his vital signs and everything, and he went to ICU. Several days later, I went to visit him, and I asked him if he remembered me. He said, "Oh, I remember you." He said, "You were pounding on my chest." And he says, "I was wondering what the heck you were doing." He says, "I was looking at all of you, just making all kinds of noises." And well, I'm looking at him like, what's going on? He says, "Yeah, I was floating up above." And he says, "You kept telling me to stay here. Come back. And he says, "I really didn't want to stay." That experience, Irene, really jolted me. And I said, consciousness is part of the human body, the human spirit. Mm-hmm. And we're separate. We're an existence. We're a consciousness that just is separate from the body. This mm-hmm. body is just a vehicle to house our spirit. Mm-hmm. So that's where, a lot of my faith comes from.
Yeah. Well, you've had quite a few experiences in nursing, I'm sure, and working in a hospital.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of them do.
I can't imagine it. I know you mentioned something about looking at when we talk about nature, you look at a rose and you
Yes.
see the intricate detail that goes into
Right.
its form, or the
Right.
trees, or all of the flowers. The beauty, the sheer beauty. It is creation. It is God's hand in its creation.
Well, it's that intricate detail that
Yeah.
goes into it, and he takes part of that. And I don't think people really look at it that way. It's like you look at a cup and you say, "Well, where did this cup come from? Somebody created it. It just didn't happen. It just
Yes.
didn't appear."
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I also have a lot of faith, which has guided me over the years. And I think it's really important to be able to talk about it. And I'm not hesitant to talk about it at all. I was raised by very devout parents that were Greek Catholic. My father was a director of the Greek Catholic, the choir, so we had to go to High Mass every Sunday. And, as a small child, I resented it, but after a while, I appreciated it. My husband was also, again, from Russia and born in 1941. At that time, churches and priests were banned. They were not allowed. His mother somehow managed to illegally baptize him. And when he first immigrated here with me many years ago, one of the first things he wanted to do, I want to get a cross to wear. So we got the cross, and then we went to an Orthodox church in Manhattan where we asked the priest to bless it. And my husband, John, wore that cross for the next 39 years he was here in this country. Never, ever took it off. So he was very much a believer, as much as I. However, one of the few regrets I do have, and I have very few in my life, we didn't really practice our faith. We observed the holy days, the holidays, but we didn't observe going religiously on a regular basis. I do regret that. I think it would have helped me a lot after he had passed, and he's been gone about 10 years ago. So, and the other thing as a Catholic, they don't really emphasize the Bible studies. So that's in my old age now. That's what I'm trying to do. I look and I participate in Bible studies as I can find them, and I think that's been very rewarding because I want to know. I want to know exactly where a lot of the stuff that the church teaches, where it's coming from. Beverly, so how do you think faith evolved over the past 50, 75 years?
Well, I think everybody needs to know that faith and religion are two different entities. Faith evolved from really a rigid obligation-based observance to a more personal spirituality that often deepens with age. We go back to that rigid, you have to keep the 10 Commandments. You have to go to church every Sunday. You have to, and if you're Catholic, you go to confession and then Holy Communion. You follow a strict observance. Traditional religion was and is still a binding social system focused on obedience. Spirituality is different. It's based on an individual experience and meaning. You remember the boomer shift? And basically, we're going back to 1946 to 1964.
I'm a boomer.
There you go. So, once there was a thought that they had abandoned religion, but their belief in God has many boomers turning to faith as they age. They were the ones that challenged institutional religion. They were the Y generation. But as the boomers age, they faced their own mortality, and religion provided a framework for addressing end-of-life concerns. So they started becoming more religious. So, Irene, what else do we know about religion and boomers?
So
Since you are one.
Okay, so I'm not just speaking for myself. There is a great deal of faith among seniors, and the stats show that those of us who are 65 and older, 83 to 85% identify as religious. We're actually the most religious age demographic in the United States right now. Spirituality, religion, also emphasizes health and well-being. They are linked to better health outcomes. For example, if you are a believer or religious, you have reduced anxiety, you have lower rates of depression, and in some cases, slower cognitive decline. Religion and religious communities often very often provide social support. They provide crucial social networks that can combat loneliness so people can get out there and meet with other people. It's also a coping mechanism. So faith helps individuals navigate challenges of aging, declining health, and or the death of a spouse, as it did with me. And a belief in God offers hope, a positive outlook. It's a very positive thing. An inner peace, which I can attest to. It does give you an inner peace. And satisfying joy, and most important, a renewed purpose in life. A significant number, a lot of seniors report that they pray daily, and the ones I've spoken to say that, and I do. They all agree the more you do it, the stronger you become. And many feel the spirituality that you have is an integral part of your well-being, and it's a part of your life. Beverly, so how else does faith contribute to our lives? What do you think?
Well, faith is a coping mechanism during times of uncertainty. Prayer, meditation, which is basically the same thing, lowers stress and trauma. And it helps individuals to cope, especially in economic crisis. It offers a framework for finding significance in suffering, which can lower rates of depression and anxiety. I think right now, I think there's a motivational shifting of religion versus spirituality. Because in the 21st century, faith may now be focused on personal fulfillment along with moral behavior. Many people outgrow religious routines, like myself. I mean, I do go to church, but I don't go as often as I should be going. Don't go every Sunday. But I think, I go back to that saying where Jesus said, wherever there are 2 or 3 people gathered in my name, I will be there. That's true. But you have to think about, where was he? Did he have institutions back then? All right, maybe he may have had the synagogues and all, but did he pray to the people in the synagogues? No, he prayed among the people in the fields and all. Mm-hmm. And wherever he saw them, he meditated with them and he prayed with them to God. Mm-hmm. So I think that in your heart, if you have God and Jesus in your heart, no matter where you are, you could be on a mountain facing a beautiful sunset, and he's there right alongside of you. You don't need an institution. And please, don't let all these religious people out there, yell at me and say, oh, you shouldn't be going to church. You should. If you find comfort in going to your church, definitely you must go. But there are some people that just find faith and comfort in seeking him wherever they are. Mm-hmm. He's in your heart.
Yeah. I agree totally. I always feel he's always with me. Mm-hmm. He is always with me, watching over me. And I do truly feel that. Faith, religion, make no mistake, like it or not, has a very powerful impact on politics in our lives. In the United States, Christians and conservative Catholics often align with Republicans, while secular voters or non-believers, some moderate groups align with Democrats. This helps shape our voter identities. It motivates political participation, and that's, unfortunately, sometimes it does. It's a question and debate for things like abortion, for example, or transgender identity. Religion influences these topics tremendously. Mm-hmm. It influences legislative issues on moral and social issues, on education. It motivates action. Religious beliefs motivate voter turnout. For example, evangelicals serve as a voting bloc that can really sway elections. It influences public policy debates, particularly on social issues like same-sex marriage, reproductive rights, and environmental regulations. It can lead to increased political polarization. And the separation of church and state, which is something that seniors grew up with, and that's something that the government tries to adhere to at all times, that shapes debates regarding the public and the government. So those that are unaffiliated, which is a rising segment of population more likely to align with Democrats, this widens the partisan gap. So faith is not just limited to seniors, is it? Especially now, Beverly. So tell us what's happening out there.
Well, there's a generational attitude towards faith. There's the young versus the older adults' views on biblical teachings.
Hmm.
Did you know that there's a renewed interest in Jesus?
Hmm.
Generation Z and millennials in the United States have a renewed interest in him. They're seeking religion by joining churches in the 21st century. We didn't see this since 1971.
Yeah,
We're
amazing.
over 50 years ago when they had a Jesus revival.
Hmm.
So this spiritual revival is sweeping the United States right now.
Uh-huh.
And it's characterized by a massive resurgence of a belief in Jesus among younger generations. You know that recent polling shows that 66% of the United States adults now claim a personal commitment to Jesus?
Wow.
I mean, this marks at least 30 million followers compared to that of 2021.
Wow.
So there's a rapid increase in revivalism throughout the entire country. And I think this is a fantastic thing, what we're going through right now. Irene, I think this is great. What do you think?
I agree. The last few times I've been to the last year, I've seen a lot more younger people with their families and their young kids at church, and which I had not seen maybe 10 years or 15 years before. So, and I think that's also young people embracing faith, and it's very much in conjunction with our values in the family. And media has helped us come about. So I'd like to just touch briefly about religion in our media. And, some people may find that's a strange topic, but it's ever present. A lot of people feel media ignores or misrepresents faith or stereotypes it. And I agree, sometimes they do. Because news coverage often focuses on conflict, scandal, or sensationalism, as it does with everything else. Let's face it. Why is that? Because it sells. They're trying to sell the news. However, the rising trend or surge in faith-based content in streaming. So, for example, you can see with all these podcasts and all these church services that are online streaming, you can watch your service at home. You don't have to go to the church or the synagogue. You can see it all on home. And I think that's a wonderful thing. It's great, especially, in the wintertime when the weather is bad and you don't want to get out there. So I think that's a very good thing. And there's been a tremendous surge in that. For example, Amazon Prime, that sells the part that sells their books. They saw in the last year or two a 209% rise in their faith-based titles, which is pretty amazing. So we're no longer in the age of I Love Lucy. Remember, where purity, heterosexuality, and the perpetuation of the nuclear family, they were deemed as the only acceptable ideals. We have different ones now. And there's so many podcasts out there on faith. It's wonderful, especially in view of our country's founders and basing our Constitution on faith and that all our liberties come from God, which is something we can never forget. So we're finally getting in sync after a very lengthy, barren period of time, I think. So, and there's a lot of different, different types of faith. And Beverly, I wanted to ask you, do you think Christianity can survive?
Oh, definitely. I looked, as a matter of fact, when I was looking into, the different religions and what would be, most popular in, say, 2050, Christianity is the number one religion,
Mm-hmm.
and followed by Islam, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And Christianity is still the largest demographic. There's 2 billion in the world.
Wow.
However, there's a little less than 2 billion in the Islam. I'd like to just explore some of the things, the differences between some of the religions. Christianity right now, that's a broad term. It's a belief in the Trinity and the resurrection of Jesus. Catholicism, however, believes in the Trinity, the resurrection of Jesus, and papal authority. Judaism believes in one God, but they reject Jesus because they're still waiting for their Messiah. Islamism teaches that there is one God, Allah, and that Muhammad is his final prophet. They follow the Quran, and they believe it was written by Muhammad through the angel Gabriel. Now, Buddhism, I'd like to just stop here for a second and just speak a little bit about Buddhism, which is a non-theistic world religion founded by Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, over 2,500 years ago. Did you know that he was a prince? He had a tremendous amount of wealth back then. And he was just very disenchanted with all of the wealth that he had. He wanted something more. He just kept wondering, is this, go back to that song, is that all there is? And he kept wondering, it's like there has to be something more than just having everything in life, every convenience in life. So he finally, against his father's wishes and everything, he left, and he wanted to seek out enlightenment. And he went for many years seeking enlightenment. And finally, he did find it. He found nirvana by sitting under a fig tree called the Bodhi tree, and for 49 days. And he finally was enlightened. And this is where Buddhism came into being, the religion of Buddhism.
And I think he was fasting. He wasn't eating or anything.
No, he wasn't.
Wow.
He wasn't.
Wow.
And I believe that it's not only a religion, it's really a philosophy. It's a way of life. It's how you treat people. It's how you treat human beings and animals and insects and everything. And they believe in reincarnation, that if you're miserable in this life, you're going to be really miserable in the next life. But you have an opportunity. If you're good, you could be better. So it's like, there's a lot of qualities in all of the religions.
Yes,
believe me.
that's true. That's true.
So, but anyhow, there's another religion which is called voodoo. And I'd like to talk a little bit about this because I've had a personal experience with someone who practiced it. Now, voodoo is an African religion developed between the 16th and 19th centuries. It combines African traditions and Catholicism. Practitioners believe that spirits inhabit all things, and Bondi is their creator. Rituals involve music, dance, and drumming to commune with spirits. And voodoo is focused on healing and repairing, often helping with daily issues like illness, love, and finance. But it's much different than witchcraft. I'd like to tell you a little story about a patient that I had. She was a Black lady who came into the emergency room who was from Haiti. And I didn't realize that she practiced voodoo, but she was very ill. She came in with what we called thyroid storm. And she had a condition called exophthalmos, where their eyeballs actually bulge. She had a very fast heartbeat. She was in crisis, and she had to be given medication to bring this condition down, and she had to go to ICU. So I gave, I had my nursing assessment. The doctor saw her. We arranged for different things to happen for her to go to ICU. And then she wanted to see her daughter. She was very anxious. So her daughter came in and she said, Mom, what can I do for you? What can I do? She says, go home and chant. Well, and I heard chant. I said, oh, my goodness. I said, this is witchcraft. I said, I have to get out of here before they put a hex on me. No, I mean, I was a young nurse. I didn't know what to think. I really didn't know. Yeah. So anyhow, her daughter left. And a couple of days later, I went to see her in ICU. And she looked great. She was, a lot calmer. She was out of the thyroid storm. And she was explaining to me, that her daughter went home and chanted. And she believed that her ancestors, her spiritual ancestors, helped her in the healing process. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was great. So I decided at that time I was going to look into voodoo and see what it was really all about. Mm-hmm. And it's like faith comes in different, different ways. It comes in different dresses or disguises. So nobody can say, well, you don't have faith, because nobody really knows.
Yeah.
So I think we should emphasize that, that faith is very important, Irene. Don't you think?
I agree. And it's also, I'm glad you mentioned that voodoo, a lot of people think it is witchcraft, and it's not.
It's not.
It is a type of religion. Mm-hmm. So faith is a state of being, and it's important. Why? Because it's a state of being in a positive condition for both ourselves personally and for society. Faith provides essential spiritual and emotional benefits. It anchors believers in hope, offering strength during adversity, creating a personal connection with God, our Creator. It guides daily living through moral principles. It acts as a foundation for salvation. It offers a sense of purpose and peace. And you'll all recall or remember a lot of us grew up with the Ten Commandments, right? You went to religious instruction classes, and several of the religions teach the Ten Commandments. But they are the foundational moral laws delivered by God to Moses on Mount Sinai, recorded in Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5 in the Bible. They structure life around love for God and others, covering prohibitions against idolatry, murder, theft, and adultery. These commands are essential to the Judeo-Christian faith, promoting a just society. Again, they're focused on society and what's going to make society better. And America was founded upon Judeo-Christian principles within the Constitution, led by these commandments. And I just wanted to speak briefly. There are people who are non-believers. They have no faith, no religion, and everyone has an option to believe in a creator or not. We're certainly not being judgmental. For example, my brother, we were raised by the same parents, both very strong, devout Christian Catholics. My brother became an atheist. Funny, but his best friend of over 35 years was a devout, born-again Christian. But Paul never pushed his faith. He never really argued with my brother about it. But they were like the closest and the best of friends. So I never understood it. But we often spoke about my brother's non-belief, and he said he could not believe as there was so much suffering in the world. Well, I guess if you're an atheist or non-believer, you don't believe also in a before or after, meaning you think you were just maybe plopped down here on earth, which just happened to be here, and when you die, nothing happens. I find that very sad, and it's somewhat arrogant, because God gives us a will, and why there is so much suffering, we choose our actions. So, and there is evil in the world. I believe in God, but I also believe in evil and the devil promotes evil. So those without a belief system in place give evil more of a chance to come into their lives, come into their hearts. And those actions by those evil thoughts are what creates the suffering. It's really not God. And more important, God, whichever God you believe in, is mostly one thing, and that's love, kindness, and compassion. Love God as he loves us, your neighbor, and your fellow man. Without that, I truly believe we are lost. So when I look at the outspoken Democrats you see on TV, and sometimes the Republicans also, who are very outspoken on TV and on social media, blasting MAGA folks, blasting the Democrats and the president, to me, there is absolutely no love, no kindness whatsoever. It's purely hate. And that's one reason I don't do social media, because I really can't take it. There is so much hatred in social media. So I try to steer clear of it, because it's obvious to me that people who really are on there, and usually it's the same people, and the things that they talk about, they're just blasting hate, and they don't have any faith or belief in God. They're being fueled by hatred, and that, folks, to me is pure evil. So I stay away from those kind of things. Again, not judging anyone, and it's really just my opinion, and everybody may have a different opinion. So, Beverly, how do you feel about people who have no faith?
Well, yeah, I go back to what I said before about this cup. A cup just didn't happen. Somebody made it. Mm-hmm. And I really can't say that people that don't believe in God or a universal being, they're not lost. I can't say that and that they won't be saved, because their belief system is in self. They have their own moral code that doesn't support a God or a universal being. They rely on what science informs them. And that is, once the physical brain dies and the biological processes stop, you cease to exist. So many atheists believe they return to a non-existence like before you were born. Now, if indeed God exists, and I truly believe he does, along with his son, how will he judge this person, since he has a soul, is unknown. Mm-hmm. I think that, and this is only my opinion, an atheist will certainly be surprised when he dies and his soul leaves his body and is met by Jesus. Don't you,
Absolutely,
Irene?
absolutely.
I think that's going to be the surprise of his life, right? So I had this interesting conversation with some friends of mine a while back about reincarnation and resurrection. I'm still surprised at how people can believe that the resurrection means that Jesus was reincarnated. They're not the same. Christ died and was resurrected into his own body. He wasn't reincarnated into another body. Okay, but I don't think that a lot of people understand that. Reincarnation means that you get reincarnated into one body after another after another. And it's not true. It's what happened with Jesus. He was resurrected into his own body. I guess maybe some people will understand what we're trying to say and some people won't, but that's okay. We're here to just try to help.
Right. And I think just talking about it is, even people who are non-believers should be able to talk about it. So.
That's what we're here for. And that's what we're trying to promote. And I'd like to thank all of you. Irene and I are here for all of you today. Please subscribe to our podcast to help us grow. You can see our email addresses at the bottom of the screen, so you can send us any questions, comments, and get a free copy of our newsletter. Tell us what you'd like to know. Give us comments. Tell us how we can improve. We don't know unless you tell us.
Right.
Please. Yes. Our next podcast is called Unscripted. Oh boy, that should be a good one. Where we'll be covering a variety of topics. I think you'll have fun listening. I think you'll find it very, very interesting. And we hope to see you then.
We sure do. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.